I'm going to be talking in this vlog about some games that debtors play to avoid paying creditors on particularly larger claims, and some of the things that I've seen in the last 35 years. I've been doing this for 35 years at Hampshire Kerrigan. Before that, I had a one-year clerkship with the courts, and I've dealt with a lot of debtor-creditor issues, among other things that I've done in my practice. I've also represented the FDIC or through their receivers when the bank foreclosures, and represented some institutional lenders in regards to this, but also businesses that are owed substantial debts. There's something called the Fraudulent Transfer Act, which prohibits somebody from, when they're owing a debt, from transferring assets that will make them insolvent for less than reasonable equivalent value, or transfer them purely to hinder, delay, or defraud creditors. An example of hindering or delaying or defraud creditors is, I owe a lot of money and I have creditors or a creditor coming after me. I transfer all my real estate out of my name and take back mortgages for 30 years. And the company that I transferred it over to might be somebody that's somewhat related to me, but I'm really getting it out of my name. And the mortgage is supposed to be paying me back to 30 years, and it's paying me back 30 years. So I'm saying, look, it's reasonably equivalent value. I paid the amount that I'm supposed to be paying, or I got the amount that I was supposed to be paying, and they're paying it back. But it was with the intent to hinder, delay, or defraud creditors, and the transferor, in the situation I had, they were all affiliates of this person, knew what they were doing too, so they're all part of the same scheme. Trying to get that big bulk asset out so you can slow down the process of the collections and maybe enhance your negotiating with the creditor is with the actual intent to hinder, delay, or defraud creditors, and you can go after the entire asset. If, on the other hand, this was a situation where the buyer paid fair value for the property, and then the debtor took the money and spent it on something else, but the person that bought the property didn't know anything about this, wasn't planning on participating in any type of fraud, then they're free. If they paid the fair consideration, they don't have any risk. If they pay less than the reasonable equivalent fair value for the property, then up to the amount of the delta between what the fair value is and what they paid, they have some risk for as a bona fide purchaser. That's under the fraudulent transfer statute, and we can talk about that if you have the situations. But I've dealt with these issues before, with more complex ones, like I said, with people transferring huge developments out into realty trusts with mortgages back to just the person that's transferring the lake house. And I can help out with these types of situations if you have that circumstance. I've dealt with this Uniform Fraudulent Transfer Act, which is in New Hampshire, and there's a variation of it in Massachusetts. I practice in both states, and I'm happy to help with this. I've dealt with those issues. I've also dealt with an issue of what's called corporate piercing, where somebody uses a corporation to commit fraud. They have the corporation, they sign the debts in regards to the corporation, but they then use the corporation for the personal bank account. They pay off their own debts and everything else, and they say, well, look, I signed as the president of this corporation or this LLC, limited liability company. I signed as a member of this limited liability company, so you can't come after me. In that situation, though, you may be able to pierce that veil. Another thing I've done recently is I've done what's called a reverse corporate piercing, where somebody got an individual debt against them, and then they had their spouse set up a LLC, and then they operated their business under the LLC. And they were saying, look, this LLC is not me. I'm the one who owes the debt, and therefore you can't get anything from me. And my wife is the one who owns the LLC. You can pierce that through reverse corporate piercing or LLC piercing. I can talk to you about that. I've dealt with those issues as well. If you have questions in regards to any of these things, you can contact us at 603-883-5501. That's 603-883-5501. I'm Dan Marr, or you can reach me also at hamker.com. That's hamker.com. Look forward to working with you if the opportunity arises. Thank you.